Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street, a VeChain video for you guys today. We're going to smash through loads of them this week, trying to keep them to around about 10 minutes each one. There's so much to talk about. Unfortunately, health situations have kept me at bay for the last few weeks, but we're back into the fruition of developing content for you guys out there. Welcome to the channel if you're new, and welcome back if you've been with us for some time. That leaves me to say, don't forget, of course, to smash that subscribe button if you have not done so already. But yes, what we're going to try and do with these formatted videos in the next few weeks is to pretty much have a quick snapshot overview of any updates available. We'll look at the market trends of VeChain as well, not just on CoinMarketCap, but also where we think, based on the data of the market, where we think VeChain could go price point wise and where it's obviously been. And we'll analyze as well, because this is a project particularly that I've been holding for a few years now and seen some really drastic developments in what it has been doing technologically, but also the excitement of what we could see price point wise in the near future as this crazy crypto market continues to surge. So let's go straight into this one, guys. First and foremost, VeChain doing exceptionally well really over this long period of time since it's been around. And of course, back in 2021 we saw those crazy heights. I think it was like 26, 27, maybe slightly higher, 25 cents or so that hit back in 2021. It had two rides on that as well. A lot of the assets that we saw previously had kind of like two major upward trends in that period of time. And of course, right now we're seeing it fluctuate all the way up to around 5 cents there or thereabouts in the last few days. And this is something that we'll continue to probably see some stabilization patterns around this price point. We'll go into a bit more detail about that. But off the back of this, there are a couple of announcements that have helped towards this momentum, not just, of course, the market in general, organically moving upwards with most assets in particular. But there are some really particular things with VeChain that have really stood out over the last couple of months. For those that didn't know, we covered this quite a long time ago, but there was two really critical areas, VOT3 token and the B3TR, which is pretty much classed as better for VeChain. This is to encourage the DAO aspect of the token, but also the project overall in terms of governance, and essentially giving a bit more power to the community, a better engagement. And this, in my opinion, is going to be a really lucrative point when we go into these bull runs, probably more towards the end of the year, in my opinion. But we will, of course, see a spike up as Bitcoin reduces in the coming weeks, leading up to that halving event, where we see the trickle down to some of these assets. So we got these two aspirational kind of forked tokens, if you like, of the VeChain ecosystem. This isn't to suggest that VeChain, the VET token, isn't going anywhere. Of course, that's still needed for clarity of the blockchain itself. Then we've also got the VeThor, which acts as the fuel token aspect of that. So whether you're accumulating those individually or you're getting the VeThor from simply holding VeChain, either on the VWorld extension that's on Chrome or via your exchanges, you should still be getting those. Albeit, I think the percentage accumulation has reduced over time. But it's still good to accumulate those for free, right? And be a part of that ecosystem build. It's really exciting time. So we've got all of these things going on. We covered, in particular, if you want more information about this VOT3 token, check the previous videos that we've done on that. I do think we're going to see a huge scale up of that in this year particularly, and the years to come for sure. And there's loads of partnerships constantly with VeChain. I know we've talked about VeChain's prowess and the likes of BMW, etc. years ago, but it's these kind of ones that are really exciting me more so than ever before. A couple of reasons: we talked about some of these extra tokens that they're bringing into the fruition for the governance aspect. This particular point is of interest, the ESG initiatives. We talked about this so many times on the channel. We've made it clear about a year or so ago that more blockchains, more companies worldwide will be focusing on the ESG aspects, environmental, social and governance initiatives, pretty much led by the World Economic Forum and the Agenda 30 programs at the UN. This is going to be hugely targeted across the board, and there will be fines distributed to companies that aren't fulfilling their targets or recommended targets, But this in particular, this partnership is around Ubit. So it's a leading mobile payment app. These guys have a substantial amount of users already, but what this does is allows the ability to use the VeChain token for payments as well. In conclusion as well, with all the other sustainable focused areas of the VeChain ecosystem too. So it's really interesting. I'm actually going to do a separate video on Ubit and in general these kind of crypto payment platforms that are coming out. We've seen very interesting developments over the last 9 to 12 months of PayPal introducing crypto services. We know that banks like HSBC, Barclays are working on infrastructure right now to include the ability to withdraw and hold balances of crypto legally and respectfully in your existing bank account. So really this pattern of the years to come in the crypto sphere is just going to accelerate substantially further than we've ever seen before and still haven't seen yet today, despite all the great advancements that we've had. But yes, in regards to this is obviously a very powerful partnership. Of course, the ability as well to utilize Visa and MasterCard payment elements too. It just opens up the doors for the utility of VeChain, not just as a blockchain, but also as a payment system as well. And we'll go back to the point in a second, if not now, actually, let's talk about this, because at the moment, the market cap is quite phenomenal. The circulating supply is still very heavy, but you can see here the diluted market cap is very, very big. We're talking about $4 billion here. So when we were talking about maybe back in 2021, we looked at these kind of figures, near enough half of that, I think, if I remember correctly, at those earlier periods of time, and it was an acceleration period. And this kind of topic will conclude how we think with these months and maybe years to come in terms of the price point of VeChain in the charts. So whilst we got VeChain as a really strong ecosystem and blockchain protocol, we've also got the opportunity of all these great partnerships occurring at a very interesting time just before these kind of proper altcoin bull runs occur. And then we can loop back to the fact that as well, on top of this, we've got a lot of VeChain holders out there, and we've got a lot of people that will be coming into the space and looking for those lucrative assets. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure VeChain is currently sitting around about 40 odd position in coin market cap in terms of the market cap itself. Read that what you will. In my instance, it kind of concludes it as a really proper top 100 asset that should be in most people's portfolios, in my opinion. It's not financial advice, just my opinion and thoughts, and it's certainly one that I've had since those early times. I think I got mine around 2020 off the back of some cheeky crypto videos and learned about I was particularly interested in the supply chain mechanism opportunity, purely from the fact that I've worked in those industries and I could really heavily relate to what they were trying to achieve and what they were trying to do with the solution base of VeChain. So it's always been exciting for me. And I think as you see trade developing specifically into the digital realm, and we've talked about the Electronic Trade Act here in the UK passing from an act to law, this is something that's going to be a heavy topic in the years to come, especially with the ESG initiatives of trying to reduce like emissions of transportation and supply, but also improve the resource element, the cost efficiency, all of these great things. So it's a really interesting time, in my opinion, for VeChain. So I think you're going to get two elements, really, like you do with most assets, but in particular with VeChain, I think you get two elements to the next run. We're going to get the narrative of what VeChain's about. We can see the utility is already there. We can see the partnerships, and we're also going to have the momentum in general of people just rushing into the crypto sphere. Once Bitcoin starts filtering down to the altcoins, which will happen eventually, of course, for the alt seasons, you'll start seeing an influx, because majority of people already hold these kind of assets for many years and they're waiting to either break even or take profits this time around, or you're just going to get a new influx of people that are just excited about the crazy amount of numbers and monetary values that are flying about. So with that in mind, let's just go quickly and jump to the price point of VeChain. So that's on screen right now. You can see the current price point floating around 5 cents. When we were doing our previous videos a few months ago, of course, we were lingering around this 2 cent mark, and we did anticipate that we would see eventually these markers up front. And we did have some buy positions in the low areas. Of course, we then took off since those periods of time, and we're starting to fly up to these high levels of 5 cents. Not quite, of course, near still to these top levels that we see at the all-time high around 26, 27. I know CoinMarketCap said 25, but I do remember in my head 27 on some of the exchanges that I was using at the time, and certainly selling some around these periods. Not a huge amount, because at that time I had a bit of ignorance to think that we were just going to fly up towards 50 cents, and that didn't happen. And that's definitely a video that we'll do very soon. There's millions of videos like that, but just from my perspective of learnings from that period of time, what am I going to do differently this time around? So you can see from the previous VeChain marker that we had from the video, we put some markers in of potential buy opportunities on the way down. We did from that previous uptrend that we did on the 2 weeks ago, see this come back down and hit that 3.8 cents. I did have a trigger buy at that period, but there will be plenty of opportunities in the near future for grabbing VeChain at potential lower prices. I'm going to drag these across from previous fib levels just so I can give you a bit more of a storyline on that. So just matching up with the recent highs and lows of these previous markers, and we see here if we drag up a bit further, you can see we're bouncing around these two levels of interest, around the 4.9 down towards that 4.6. So I do think there's going to be a lot of traction around this area in the coming days. This will then start defining the RSIs on the bottom left that you see down here. At the moment there's 60 on the 28-day and 58 on the 14. In my mind, there's obviously a lot of opportunity still left for another uprise, and that could potentially be the one that tries to retest this 6 cent area, which we have not seen those prices since April. And if you have looked at a lot of the market trends at the moment, as of now, we are focusing a lot of assets around those April kind of 2022 prices. So it'd be interesting to see if VeChain does similar as well. But what we have now started also is this trigger pattern of accelerated purchasing power. This means that there's a big gap here between this point back down here and low point and these higher points up here at 4.4 cents. So that's why I've still got buy orders at these lower regions, because if this does stabilize and the confidence starts reducing for whatever reason, it could be a Bitcoin crash, it could just be a crash in general as we hit those halving times of Bitcoin, as well as things like tax, etc., due at the end of the month, we may see a retest of these lower regions. Not suggesting that it will come all the way back down to maybe 2.5-2 cents, but definitely think about that in the back of your heads. We can only work with what we can see right in front of us. Let's be honest here and think about this logically. If we can go from 3 cents all the way to 5 cents within the space of 2-3 days, it can equally come down the other way in a similar fashion as well. It really depends on how much people have taken profits along these areas, or if they're waiting like I am, in the sense that I'm not really fussed whether we go up or down at this stage. I'm more interested in selling off at the higher regions of maybe like 15 towards 25 cents in the eventual runs in the near future. And on that way down, I'll always try and accumulate VeChain anyway. So that's my principle. But for those that have been buying at these stages or lower stages and want to take that critical profit, absolutely, that's within their own rights and remits to do so. And that's why I think you're getting a lot of stability here. People are just testing the ground, a bit of a bear and a bull pull, either way, like a tug of war going on these last couple of weeks with VeChain's price. So there's plenty of action still to come, guys. As I said, the RSIs are pitched nicely to suggest that it could go literally either way, which is why we always look at the DCA approach of not always chucking money in straight away here, there and everywhere, being strategic in the buying and the selling patterns as well that we do. I'm just going to pull this up for the data perspectives as well. You can see that point that I just made about the tug of war, that has pulled the green into a bit of a red momentum. So it's pretty much bang on the week now. Over the month and the 3 months, we've had very strong positions, as we have on the 6 months, which is why I'm sitting here thinking that we'll just have a bit of a balancing act, a bit of a breather before we decide, do we push that next momentum up to the 6 cents, or at least confirming the 5.1, 5.2 cent mark, or are we going to retrace back down and have a bit more clarity to confirm this particular point that we saw back in December around the 3.4, 3.7 cent mark? We do generally need to try and do these so we can then push up. Otherwise, what we'll have is too much purchasing power, too much momentum, and then we have too much ability for people to get bored quite quickly, and then the price can drop quite significantly, so quite quickly sometimes as well. So those are my quick thoughts on VeChain. It's a bit longer than 10 minutes, about 15. It's not too bad. But let us know in the comments below what you're thinking of VeChain right now. If there's any other assets you want us to cover, I'm going to try and do 3 or 4 of these each day, which is why I just mentioned about trying to do shorter videos. So apologies if they're not fully in depth like the previous ones, but hopefully you can trace back to some of those just to get the in-depth knowledge about these projects and why we should be trying to invest in these, in my opinion. On top of course, the amazing gains that we could potentially have in the coming market. So guys, thanks so much for watching this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next Whales of Wall Street update video. Take care. Bye bye.